Welcome to Getting Neighborly in Fairview, Texas, the official community podcast for the town of Fairview, hosted by the Fairview Economic Development Corporation. On every episode, we spend time getting to know our neighbors and hearing the stories that make our town a community. This is Getting Neighborly in Fairview, Texas. Howdy, friends, and welcome to another episode of Getting Neighborly at Fairview, Texas. We appreciate you listening in today. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, and I'm excited about today's guest. I have with us Jeff Bednar, who is the owner and founder of the Profound Foods and Profound Microfarms, right? And based here in Fairview Town Center. So super excited to have him here on a guest. An incredible journey. Jeff, I heard your story when we were at the Allen Fairview Leadership Day here in Fairview. You hosted us. It was a great space. People loved the food. It was awesome, fresh food that we had. And with the chef and all of you treated us so well, and we appreciate that. But what an incredible story you have, and I knew that we needed to get you on so that our neighbors here in Fairview could understand what they have right here in their own backyard, or front yard, I guess, because we're in the town center. So do me a favor, let's sort of set the stage. What is Profound Foods and what is Profound Microfarms? And then we can kind of back up and figure out how we got here. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Right. So Profound Microfarms is, we're actually in Lucas, so it's 3 miles from Fairview Town Center right here. We have 2.6 acres, and we've got 17,000 square feet of controlled environment greenhouse space. So what we grow is leafy greens, culinary herbs, edible flowers, and microgreens. Up until COVID, we only worked with chefs and restaurants. About 18 months, almost 2 years ago now, we started a second company called Profound Foods, and that's a distribution company. So Profound Foods distributes everything from our farm stuff, but it also has all of the beef, chicken, pork, vegetables, soil vegetables. We've got value-added goods like tamales and all kinds of stuff like that. But we distribute that to wholesale to restaurants in the area and also to direct to people's homes.
So you're helping bring farm fresh, localized food to people right here.
Yep. So it's a food hub. So we really just got all these farmers together and figured out how do we help each other, and let's get this food into people whose hands who want it.
What I remember and was most inspired by was you were totally going one path and sort of reluctant to sort of hit the retail market, but then you got handed COVID like everybody else. And I've been just really impressed. So tell us about that, what that was and how you pivoted. That's the word we use now, is pivoted, right?
Right. That's a dirty word for a lot of people, it seems like.
I hate when it comes out, I hate to say it. But so tell us about your pivot and what that's meant for you.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, we've started our farm like 5-6 years ago, and we were really successful in going out and meeting with some of Dallas's best chefs. So we started working with these chefs and, bringing them all the stuff from our farm. And then when we started the food hub, we started bringing them stuff from 4 or 5 other farmers. So that way, we had the chicken, eggs that they wanted. And it was really just a matter of making logistics simpler for all of us farmers so we could help each other. And, we got pretty fortunate that we grew really rapidly. So year and a half, or let's see now, it's 2.5 years ago, we had 25 restaurants that we were selling to. And we applied for a USDA grant to help us get to the next level with some refrigerated vans, some software program to make it easier for people to buy online, and we actually got a $500,000 grant, which was a huge boost to that. And so with that grant and starting of the Profound Foods Hub, we were able to expand to actually serve 130 restaurants pre-COVID. So we had Collin County and Dallas County. We had some over in Fort Worth. And we were doing the circuit. And basically, if it's if you saw a top 50 restaurant list or top 100 restaurant list, we had almost every single restaurant on there, and specifically ones that are smaller, 1 or 2 off restaurants, not big chains for the most part. And then when COVID hit, it was like, okay, all these restaurants are being shut down, and we don't know what the future of this is going to be. In the beginning, it was going to be a month or so, or whatever it was. So we said, hey, we need another market, because all this, the food's not going to stop growing. Like,
we're still growing food.
It still needs to come out, right? We still need to get it out of the greenhouse. So we said, hey, let's launch retail sales. And within a couple of days of announcement, we got picked up in Dallas Morning News and D Magazine and Dallas Observer, and so everyone got really kind of excited about, hey, there's this new opportunity. And luckily, we had a pretty good name in the community already, so people kind of knew who we were. And we used to get asked all the time, can I buy from your farm? Are you guys at a farmer's market? And we always just said, no. If you want to buy from us, you got to go to a restaurant. You got to eat at a nice restaurant. So now we said, hey, we're going to be open to, delivering to your house once a week. And we'll deliver to your cooler. You're going to leave outside, so it's COVID safe. We're not going to be interacting. You don't have to, go into a grocery store where their shelves were running dry at the time. It hit pretty big. We had 1 week of poor sales when restaurants got closed. The very next week when we launched retail, we actually did more than the previous several months. It was a pretty wild ride because the retail demand was really, really high at that time. And people just were excited to be able to get home deliveries of all these farms products.
Right. People were still needing, they wanted to eat good still. They still wanted this high quality food product, and they just weren't able to get it.
Yeah.
So
And then shortly after that, there was talk about like, hey, all these slaughterhouses are shutting down, and there was starting to be some bare shelves. And remember the toilet paper scare of 2020, like a lot of that stuff was happening. And we were like, hey, we have meat. These farmers actually, the ones that were selling to restaurants, we had an abundance of things. So things needed to be bought. We ended up working. We donated over 40,000 pounds of produce in those first 6 months to service industry people, and there was a lot of stuff that didn't translate well, like how many heads of lettuce you're going to eat in a single day with your family versus a restaurant that's buying 10 cases a week. So we did have some greens and things that got donated, but fortunately we were able to place just about everything. So there was very little waste, if any.
Wow. So what was that like, ramping up, going from one product line, having it go to zero, and then bouncing to retail? Was it a hard shift to go from wholesale to retail?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a bumpy ride. So you go to a restaurant, you're bringing a case of 24 to 36 heads of lettuce. And when you're doing it at someone's house, it's a single living head in a clamshell, which is, it's just a whole lot more packaging. It's a whole lot more work. And trying to retool our whole business. 130 restaurants means that we were probably hitting 50 to 70 a day when we were doing a delivery day. Well, if we got 150 home orders, that's now all of a sudden, that's 150 totes we need to put together that each one had on average around 30 items in it. So it's a lot more picking and packing. And it kind of totally broke our whole system of how we did our shipping and receiving, and we had to reinvent quite a few things along the way. And fortunately, we have just this amazing customer base. A lot of them have bought every single week since we launched this a year ago and a week today.
It's just become a habit for them.
It's ingrained in a habit. Unfortunately, it's not quite the same habit that a grocery store gets about stopping on your way home. But since COVID, we've added almost 25 new producers, farmers, ranchers, and producers. So we've added things that wouldn't necessarily sell to restaurants before. So we've got artisan chocolates that are made by Dude Sweet Chocolate down in Dallas. We've got tamales that are just amazing. And those are things that restaurants wouldn't have bought, but retail customers really love and appreciate. So we've really grown in our scope too, going from 25, 30 farmers to now we've got almost 60, 55 or 60.
So it seems almost that one of the things that you're agropreneur is what you're called, right? And you're not just a farmer, right? So you're
a little bit more than a farmer.
You say you're a farmer, but really, you're a logistics and a software company, and really you've found out a way to sort of make it easy for all of these fellow farmers to kind of come through the hub. Is that what the hub is all about? Is about just putting people together and being the center of that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the tagline is farmers helping farmers. And I'll give you a real quick story about how we came up with the Food Hub. We were at a farm-to-table symposium up at Rick Wells' place in McKinney. And I was sitting next to another farmer from Nelson from Cartamere Farms. And he was talking about the next day he had to drive down to Dallas to a restaurant called Mirador to drop off $60 worth of chicken. And he was kind of complaining because his farm's in Salina. So he's like, man, I got to drive all the way like an hour and a half down to Dallas for $60 and then drive an hour and a half back. And I said, well, man, I'm going there tomorrow. I sell to the same chef, and I'm bringing a bunch of my lettuce. Why don't you just drop by your chicken at my farm in Lucas, and then I'll drive it down and bring it with. And he's like, oh, man, I'll pay your gas money. Let me throw you some money. I'm like, dude, I'm already going there. It literally will take me no extra work to carry your chicken in with. So next day he brings me the chicken. I bring it down to Mirador, and Chef Josh was there, and I said, Josh, here's your lettuce and your microgreens and edible flowers, and here's also Nelson's chicken. Here's my invoice. Here's his invoice. And Chef was like, man, I didn't know you knew Nelson. I'm like, yeah, we've been buddies, and it was easier for him. And so Chef is like, man, that's really cool. You guys should do this every week because I feel guilty ordering $60 worth of chicken, knowing he's driving for 3 hours, for $60. And so I was like, man, we could do, let's make it a standing order. Not a problem. And that was kind of the little light bulb went off of like, oh, wait a minute, this is easier for farmers and it's easier for chefs. And so
Sure,
shortly,
they've got one interruption instead of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
You've got one person coming in.
One person coming in, and then we had another restaurant that writes a check every time you go, and they had like 11 farmers that were coming. So that means they're paying someone to stop what they're doing 11 times twice a week when the delivery days are, to stop and write a check and hand it over. So there was a bunch of problems in logistics. And then, with farmers, some of them you're sending an email, some of them you're sending a text message, some of them you don't even do either of those. You got to call them. And so they were trying to place their orders for the week is really hard for restaurants. So we're like, man, if we had a central hub where they could see everything online, it was easy to order, or we could do phone orders, whatever's easiest for the chef. And then we had a central location that was a hub that's kind of in the middle of where a lot of our farmers were. They could all deliver to one spot. It could go on a refrigerated van instead of a non-refrigerated vehicle, which a lot of farmers use. And then we can bring that all in one convenient delivery to our chefs. And it's no-brainer. Everybody involved was like, man, this makes a lot of sense. And so we actually kind of started just doing it without starting a business with 4 farms. We had a Wagyu farmer. We had a soil farmer, Reeves Family Farms over here in Princeton, and then Nelson with his chicken and egg farm, and microgreens farm. So it started going really well, and then people started asking. Other farms were like, man, can we be a part of this?
How do we get in on that?
We didn't even know what it is. We didn't have a business or anything. So that's when we decided we should start this food hub. And then I said, man, we don't have any money to start it. So maybe we should look for some grant money. And that's where we came up with applying to the USDA.
Nice. So now in COVID, you recently relocated into the Fairview Town Center. You sort of outgrew your packaging area, I guess, if I remember right. Is that?
Yeah, so we're doing all of our shipping and receiving on my 2.6 acre farm out of my 2,400 square foot barn, which also houses our, my old cars. It's got all of our farm tools and packaging. It overpacked.
Not the ideal setting.
Not the ideal setting. We were blowing the breakers every single week for a while because we had so many freezers plugged in. There's those little freezers all over the garage and stuff. So we were looking for a spot. And at the same time, we had started, because we weren't busy enough already, we started a third company, which is the Profound Kitchen. So we had all these farmers, and I'll tell you about this real quick. We had all these farmers that were bringing us things at the end of season. So like peach season would end, and they were bringing us cases and cases of peaches that didn't sell or were overripe and couldn't sell. And they're like, hey, can you do something with these? And we're like, yeah, we knew all these chefs that are sitting here unemployed because restaurants closed with COVID.
Right.
So we said, why don't we start a kitchen and we'll start taking these peaches and turn them into jam and peach barbecue sauce, and we'll dehydrate them, make peach chips. And that way the farmer gets paid and they don't have product that goes to waste. And we have value added goods that we can sell throughout the year or for however long they last, and potentially make a higher markup on those. So it's kind of everybody wins. And we're able to hire a chef to put him to work and be able to, create all of these different products. So at the Profound Kitchen, we hired Chef Nick Walker, who was the former executive chef for Virgin Hotels. And before that, the Jewel Hotel down in Dallas that has 3 restaurants. Always one of our best customers, an awesome guy that was unemployed. He got laid off of Virgin. And we said, hey, we want to start this thing. We don't know if it's going to work. We got some PPP money, so we'll give it a shot for 6 weeks or whatever that, the beginning PPP thing was for. And we put him on, and we started making these, meal kits, and we started doing jams, jellies, spices, rubs, marinades, salad dressings. All in all, he's launched over 60 products in the last 7 months.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, it's been great. So we needed a kitchen space, which brings us back to Fairview, right? We came out and we were looking for something close to home. It's 3 miles from the farm, and we needed something that would have enough space to be able to ideally do the shipping and receiving, but also be a certified kitchen that we could make these products in, and legally sell them and label them and all that kind of thing.
Nice. And really, from a logistics standpoint, now you have stuff brought here now so that or are you still doing out of the farm? Or
no, everything's out of here, and it works out really well with the way that the Fairview Town Center is designed really nicely, because our the egress and ingress, I guess you'd say, is right next to where our walk-in freezer is. So we can open the back door of the restaurant and walk outside, get all of our shipping and receiving done, and then just roll it right into the freezer. So each week between 40 and 60 farmers are doing deliveries on Thursdays. So it's a little bit of a line of cars out there, but man, we just unload and go, count everything in, and it's so much easier than having them come up our dirt driveway, trying to do a 19-point turnaround to get out of the dirt driveway while semi trucks are pulling in. It's a lot easier over here than it was at the farm.
Well, being right off 75 and really 121, really from the Metroplex, you're talking Solana and Princeton and all these outlying sort of areas. and it's centered up here in Fairview. That's really nice.
Yeah, and most of our producers are actually up in this area too. So we've got some that are in, south of Dallas or a little bit outside of town, but it's a really convenient spot being right off 75 for everybody to come drop once a week.
Right. Now, you also are you going to keep doing the event space and having events? You're not open to the public. It's not something where I could come and just buy groceries from you.
Yep.
I've got to be on your online system.
Yeah.
But you are providing the meeting space and experiences for people or corporate offices that may want to come and have Chef Nick create a meal with their executive team or do a planning session or something like that. Are you doing that space still?
Yeah, I'll tell you kind of when we got the space, what we needed was the kitchen and the walk-in fridges and freezers. There's 3 walk-in coolers. And so we really just needed the back of the house side. But what it actually came with is being that it was the former Paula Dean's kitchen location, it has the whole front of the house side. So the whole building's 13,000 square feet, which is just gigantic.
That's
right?
massive.
It's massive. Yeah. I mean, the capacity, pre-COVID capacity anyway, was 300 people. So it's a huge space. And it also has a really cool thing in the front that you've seen before is the demonstration kitchen.
Right.
So it's got like the stove out front, a nice Viking, and it's got a huge granite countertop. And I guess Paula Dean would have taken pictures there before or something, not really ever done any cooking there. But for us, we're like, how do we utilize this space now that we have it, we need the kitchen, but how do we use the front of the house? So we came up with that idea of kind of event space, but also doing some really cool classes and training and education. So I'll tell you about a couple of the different events that we've done there so far. This last week we did a 75th birthday for 38 people, and we had them all, spaced out so everyone was comfortable. And we had a neat fajita buffet because that was what Grandpa wanted. And then we've done some kind of higher end birthday party dinners where it's 6 or 10 courses of just amazing food, caviar, like the whole 9 yards. We've done some corporate offsite work days. So that's, like we had the Fairview Town Center out, or the Fairview
the
Leadership Council out. And then we've also done a chicken breakdown workshop where we had Chef Nick in the front, and we had 30 or 40 people in there to learn about how to break down a chicken 3 ways, and then how to actually properly carve a bird, and all kinds of cooking tips and tricks from like literally one of Dallas's best chefs. Where they could come and ask questions in person. And then we also live streamed it because there's a whole lot of people that, still don't want to get out of their house, which is great, but they could watch it from home. So we did one that was a whole hog workshop. We brought in a whole hog from one of our farms, 150-pound hog, and then butchered it cut it all up into pieces and showed people, here's how you do the pieces, here's how you tie, tie them. And I was super fascinated. I've done it a few times now, but that's something where everybody gets excited about it, like a whole hog cook or a whole hog butchery. And we've got one coming up on the 26th or 28th, whatever that's the Saturday is here, for pickling. So we've got Dallas's best pickling chef, and he's going to teach people how to do pickling at home way beyond just a cucumber. So that's going to be a fun one. We've got some, just utilizing the space to get people connected with food, whether it's a food-focused birthday party or a corporate event, or like I said, doing these events and education has been a lot of fun. So
right now, did you grow up a farmer? Did you how did you get into this whole agropreneur
farming
lifestyle?
Business?
Farm business.
So I did not grow up a farmer. I moved to Plano when I was 15, but moved out as quick as I could. I wasn't a big fan of living in Plano when I was a kid. Went to Austin for a few years, came back, and my dad had a car wash in Plano at Coit and Hedgeco for 10 years. So I was a general manager of the car wash. And I'm a car guy, so I liked working there. I liked learning Spanish and, just being around really great people and providing good customer service. And then when that business sold, I got into real estate, and then from real estate into farming. So there's really never been any kind of, I literally never had a house plant before we bought our farm. But
not even a house plant.
Literally nothing. We've been given house plants and I killed them.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons why I grow with hydroponics.
Okay.
So hydroponics is plants growing in water, which means that they're set on timers and there's things you don't have to remember to water them, which is, I like to do a lot of things. It's kind of key for me is to have things automated in a controlled environment. But when I was in real estate, it was really looking at, we were buying and selling. We did 100 fix and flips on houses in Dallas. And we were looking at kind of lifestyle of I was gone every night and every weekend because that's when you can buy distressed properties. And my kids were, probably 4 and 6 at the time. So we're looking at what kind of business could we start when I sold my half of the real estate company that would have it be something that would make an impact on our family, make a positive impact on our community, and maybe employ people and bring people together and have more of a sense of community, but also would make a positive impact on the environment. Because looking at all of the different ways that we're kind of destroying our environment right now, you watch any documentary on Netflix, and it's pretty sad what's happening.
We're doing some damage, right?
How do we create a business that's going to make a positive impact on that? Or as my wife said one day, she said a profound impact. And I was like, okay, well, there we go.
Nice.
That's the name of the farm.
Love those moments.
Exactly. And that's how we came up with the idea for the farm. And then I got online. I was on YouTube and said, man, if we're going to do this, we need to start with a little greenhouse. And my dad was bicycling from their house in Fairview to my house in Allen, and he saw this property that had greenhouses for sale. And he said, hey, you need to go check it out. And next thing you know, we owner financed and bought this farm, never having grown much before at all. And it took about 3 years of becoming a master gardener in Collin County here, which is a phenomenal program I always recommend. I took permaculture classes. I traveled the country going to growing conferences and really just visiting as many farms as I could to learn the craft of specifically hydroponic, aquaponic, controlled environment farming. So that's the kind of the genesis. And then, we've only been farming commercially and selling to restaurants for 3.5 years now. So it's been kind of a wild ride to go from not ever having done it to having one of Dallas's larger farm to table businesses.
So do you see yourself continuing with the farm and always sort of having that aspect? Because really you've grown beyond just selling your own stuff, right? You've created this hub. Are you really just growing all three parts of that, where the kitchen, the hub, and the farm? Or is that kind of your path?
Usually what I tell people is I like to do what's fun. So if some aspect of this becomes not fun anymore, it starts to become a drag, we'll look at making it more interesting, and in looking at where we're going to specialize. Right now, the farm is growing great. We've got a farm manager in there. His name is Joel. He's a former chef that we brought in to help us manage, and he's just doing a phenomenal job. We're in the process of building a brand new chicken coop. He's got the honeybees going. The greenhouses have never looked better, including when I was there full time managing it, not in over here at the office as much. So that's going really well. The food hub we're looking to definitely expand and hopefully serve all of Dallas and start getting into Fort Worth and Denton again.
Now, is your platform with the food hub? I could see you. Is that something that you've built in-house? You've built the product? Is it something you could replicate in other cities and franchise that component of it?
There's definitely a thought there about how we could expand that. So the interesting part is so we've got all these farmers that needed to get to market but didn't know how. And then, we didn't bring a whole lot of magic to it. We went and found a software program that's essentially an off-the-shelf software program that maintains the online portal. So we don't actually even buy and resell like a distribution company does. All of our farmers are listing each week what they have for sale the next week. And then customers will buy those in their shop, put those in their shopping cart. And then after our order period closes every Wednesday at midnight, our farmers get what's called a pick ticket. And then they bring us exactly what's sold for the week on Thursday morning. And then we do deliveries on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay.
So there's literally no possible way to get fresher produce other than having a garden in your backyard. So you can place the order, and the carrots are still in the ground when you're ordering them, and they get pulled out once you've hit confirm,
That's amazing.
Which is pretty neat. And I mean, there's nothing fresher. So that model is really simple, right? So the next side of that is we intake, we sort, we count, and then we do what's called picking and packing, and then we'll go put those onto our refrigerated vans and distribute them. So as far as that goes, it's a pretty straightforward process. So we've talked about if we were to recreate that in Austin or San Antonio, Houston, or somewhere else, or anywhere really in the country, that if we can figure out how to help somebody get, find a location they could use with refrigeration, and have a logistics company help them with their distribution, this could be pretty easily replicated.
Okay.
And it's fairly unique because we don't actually tell farmers how much things are going to cost. They put in their own prices.
Right.
So there's going to be some things where you're going to go, man, those are kind of expensive. But that's what the farmer needs in order to, pay their kids tuition. And, small scale farming is definitely a little bit more expensive, but the quality that comes out of it is worth every penny.
Right. Well, people they want that. Obviously the demand that you've been able to grow, no pun intended there, didn't mean that. It really proves that you have a product that people want and they're willing to pay for. And we're obviously in a very nice part of Dallas that can do that.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So commercial kitchen here in Fairview, the event space. If people want to engage in that, is it the profoundfoods.com website?
Yeah, we just put a link on there. So at profoundfoods.com, if you go there, you can sign up for an account and buy all of our stuff, and we'll order it, we'll deliver it to your house, or you can pick up here. We just recently started having a pickup at our Fairview location. So you can select that if you don't want to do a home delivery, or if you're outside of our delivery area. And then if you're interested in our events, you can go on there and just put in a little note saying, I'm interested in, hosting a bar mitzvah or a wedding or, any of those kind of things. And we'll basically have our event team get back out to you.
Okay. What do you need for the future? What do you want people to know, or what, if you're speaking to the audience out there and your neighbors, what is it that you want them to know about what you're doing, or how do they help?
I think the biggest thing that makes a difference in our community, knowing that I'm on the Fairview podcast, is spending your money and your time helping Fairview and Lucas and Allen businesses. Every Rick Wells up in McKinney says all the time, he said 70% of the dollar you spend with somebody local stays local. So we're taking the money you're spending with us, and it's going to, a bunch of it's going to our farmers, and they're paying their staff and their people and their, mortgage and rents and those kind of things. But, all of that money is staying here. So shopping at local restaurants, locally owned restaurants is huge. And, supporting small farmers makes all the difference in the world. And, for our food security and for many reasons, it makes sense to buy local.
All right. Well, Jeff, this has been awesome, and I appreciate you spending some time with us. I always love to talk to you. I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like I should go start 3 more businesses just to see what I can do. It's an incredible story, and to have you here in Fairview, we're very blessed, and look forward to just the future with Profound Foods and what you're doing, and seeing it grow and the impact that you're going to have. It really is going to be profound. So thank you for your time, you can find him at it's profoundfoods.com. And if you want to jump on that, you have to order by Wednesday. You get your stuff in, and then
the order period is from Saturday morning until Wednesday at midnight, and then we'll deliver it depends on where you are, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
Right. Okay. And don't be mad at him at the pricing, right? It's not your pricing, it's the farmer's pricing, right? Well, hey, thank you, audience, for joining us on another episode here of Getting Neighborly. You can find other shows. Just go to where you find your podcast, search up. Search up. That's what my 6-year-old says. Search up. Got to search it up. Do a search on for Getting Neighborly, and you can see all the episodes there. Meet your neighbors and see what it is that we're doing here in Fairview and the people that are doing it, and get to know your neighbors. So thank you. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn. Thank you for another episode, or joining us on this episode of Getting Neighborly. Thank you for listening to this episode of Getting Neighborly in Fairview, Texas. If you're a business owner interested in calling Fairview home, contact our office by email at edc@fairviewtexas.org or visit us on the web at fairviewtexasedc.com. And if you're a resident and you know someone we should hear from, nominate them at fairviewtexasedc.com/neighbors.